Want to welcome everybody today to Function4 webinar. This is the fifth that we've done, I think, over the last 6 months now. And we think we've learned some things as we've done it. I think everybody is webinared to death by this time. I know we've gotten our share, but we wanted to make one that was relevant to a lot of the conversations that we have with our customers today. And it's something Ross and I have talked about for some time, and now we've gotten around to kind of organizing the different pieces of what we've done for customers in the past and some of the challenges that we've seen customers have too. So the title of it is How Digital Transformation Relates to Process Improvements. So Ross, who is our process improvement specialist, I want to welcome him. He's been integral into the development and the furthering of a lot of the types of offerings and things that we're going to be discussing today. So Ross, it's good to have you.
Thanks, Brad. Good to see you. Don't see you.
I think we see each other enough. We obviously have a big remote force, like a lot of you that don't come into the office every day. Ross and I are one of the few, a couple of the few that are in here every day. So we get to see each other from a distance a lot. So here we are. And one of the things that we're going to start off with, Ross has got a poll question that would be great if everybody could give us an answer to.
Give everybody a few seconds to answer this, and then.
All right. And has it processed for you there, Ross?
Yeah. And then we'll show the. So it looks like 75% of people on the webinar said they do have some type of initiative, and about a quarter of people said no.
Good. Very good. So yeah, this isn't to identify all of the holes in processes that organizations have. This is to help supplement, because we know, particularly over the last 6 months, there's a lot of things that businesses have had to address, and putting processes in place has definitely been one of them, with people working remotely or potentially with less staff too. So one of the obvious things that has happened over recent years is the never-ending flow of waves of information that are coming into organizations. We've been able to pull some data together that's going to be quite startling here, and I'm going to let Ross get into some of these.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows there's just being a ridiculous amount of information created now. The one from this page that really caught my attention would take 181 million years to download everything off the internet right now. Also, 90% of the total information created was created in the last 2 years. You know, that's crazy to think of. I mean, 4 years ago, we were still creating tons of information. So the other part was, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme of this webinar, is structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. So 51% of all data is structured. And so that's your information in databases, in your ERPs, your Salesforces, your accounting systems, things like that. Your unstructured information is all that information that's in your desktop, in your email, in random places on web pages. And then semi-structured is that information that is unstructured in those same places, but it has some information tagged in, or maybe it's in a document management system with some metadata attached to it and different information like that.
So what does that create at times for organizations is potential chaos. And I know Ross has been poking fun at me at the picture that I chose here.
For modern art that came out.
The first thing I thought of is when somebody, when you go to maybe an opening of an art studio and people are standing around and looking at the pictures on the wall, and I'm thinking this one to me just looks like chaos. So that's the reason I chose that. But in our organizations, where does that come from? Paper, email, file folders, different databases, and now obviously web content is becoming a vital part of organizations' information. also.
Yeah, and so here's another page of some statistics. You know, one that catches my attention is that 8 out of 10 people say they have to recreate existing documents because they can't find them. 46% of people say they have a challenge finding documents. I mean, I know I can be unorganized when I'm not putting it into a system. And Brad's over there shaking his head, laughing at me. And, yeah, you know, and when you're storing documents, I think of things in one way. Brad thinks of something in another way, and then you have your different departments think of things completely different. So you're going to have them mislabeled, and that can really, when you don't have a structured system, can cause problems with where your information is.
Yep. And then Ross, I think we have another poll question here quickly that we wanted to get some background from the group.
Yeah, we just wanted to see, where do you organize most of your information? We gave a couple options of email, shared drive, personal computer, or document management system. About 30 something seconds there.
Very good. It's amazing with all the different choices you have now to find and store information where it resides. I know that's one of the things when we start conversations with an organization is I don't think they really realize all the different places that they have information stored.
Oh, so 38% say shared drive, 38% say personal computer, and then 25% say document management system. So I know Brad didn't vote in this poll because his would be email.
I have a very robust folder structure in email. So what we're going to get into now is we're going to talk about 4 specific areas when we talk about what digital transformation means and how you can improve processes. We're going to focus on 4 areas. We're going to talk about advanced scanning and what advanced scanning means. We're going to talk about content management and what that means. Process improvement, how you can set yourself up to improve processes and not rely on people, just good people, but building processes to help those people do their job more effectively. And then the last one is going to be the business intelligence or data mining once you've organized that information. So first part we're going to get into here is the scanning piece. So when we set systems up for organizations, particularly from MFPs, probably the most likely is to set it up to scan to email. And people want their preset destinations loaded in the machine so that they can scan that information, that location. Scanning the folders is probably the next most likely, then followed by desktop. Maybe they have it set up to just scan the documents to the desktop and then move them from there. And then hopefully there's not a lot of people still using scan to jump drives. I know MFPs, one of the big craze at one time is it had the USB port on the front of the machine and you could scan to jump drives. In the advent of all of the cyber crime and things that have taken place recently in encrypting data, I know a lot of organizations have shut those down, but we do occasionally still see that too. So here's some interesting statistics when it comes to naming conventions and scanning. 82% say it would be benefit to have a system that would automatically name or tag documents. 93% can't find documents potentially because they're badly named or tagged. If you have an open system, maybe like a SharePoint, and not knowing how people are organizing it. 82% find it challenging to name or tag documents, so it's easy to find later. Have you developed something that is repeatable and everybody recognizes? And then 73% say their organization doesn't have a clear guideline on how to label documents that go into their system. So we see this on a regular basis, particularly when we're setting up scanning. These are the challenges that are pretty common for us to see. So if we look at all the steps when it comes to scanning a document, particularly into email here, is you gather and sort your documents to get them in a format that you have them compiled in the PDFs that you're going to get on the other end, how you want them. You scan them, you open the email application, you then open the attachment, you convert it then, if you can convert it into a searchable PDF, copy and save the PDF in a folder, and do you rename or move it or share it. I know The automatic naming conventions on scans when they come through MFPs is a 16-digit random number that may name the device that it actually is coming from. I know that that's not real helpful for people on the other end, that you're going to have to change that. But that's a lot of steps just to scan a document. So Russ, we're going to get into advanced scanning here.
Yeah, so some of the things we see and help customers do with advanced scanning is, OCR, optical character recognition. That's where you're actually scanning the document. You're making it searchable. You can do things like zonal OCR. So let's say one of the big ones is an invoice. You can start pulling that information off invoices, and then you're automatically doing some of that data entry we're talking about. Trying to avoid some of that human error. We can also, connect to databases. So you pull off that information from that invoice, and then you match it up with something into your accounting system, and you can start doing some three-way matching and different things like that. You can also start to lock down naming conventions. So instead of having it sent to someone's email and then they name it and then they put it somewhere, you can actually lock down on how people name a document. So you get some of that structure and standardization. And then the routing part, and this is probably one of the bigger parts, instead of it going to your email, you can, that last slide where we're talking about all the steps, you can start to skip some of those. You can directly scan into OneDrive or SharePoint or your accounting system or your document management system. And so there you're, again, once you're doing that, you're locking down that naming and then filing it away and not giving anyone a choice, and you're keeping documents from being lost. And you can also use barcodes with that Zonal OCR, and you can read that barcode, and then you can start routing information that way.
Yeah. So when it comes to actual print devices and the multifunctional devices, not a lot has changed when it comes to the actual output as far as the printing and the copying and those types of things. The biggest changes that have been made in recent years is the applications that you're able to add to the machine that allow you to scan and route information effectively. And those same applications can take native information. If you see here on the left, is what they could do is they could take obvious paper files and information, scanned information. Maybe it comes in a fax, maybe it comes in an email, maybe it's created from databases, and it can assign information there like OCRing the text and turn it into a searchable PDF. A lot in the legal field that we see is using bait stamping to identify documents and what pages certain information is on. You can do image enhancements by rotating the document, shrinking or enlarging information for it all to be fit on the same size view. You might want to do barcode recognition, like Ross said, where you actually have processes or workflows or identifications associated to information by having barcode on there. You can encrypt data, potentially if there's social security numbers, credit cards, numbers, things like that, that you don't want freely being able to scan and route it around the organization. You can set that up. And then you can also change the format and convert it into actual editable PDFs, Word documents, Excel, things like that, and then be able to route that information based on what you want to do with it to servers or to emails or other different types of media. You can do that. The other thing that becomes very powerful with some of these applications is how do you do the zonal character recognition on here too. So this example, they're using a W2. So what we've got here is certain information was identified to be extracted from the hard document and then inputted into, maybe it's a HR file system or potentially an accounting system that you want that information pulled out. Like Ross said earlier, one of the most common areas we see this is with invoicing and POs, and then being able to automate that process so that it's picked up in the accounting programs without people having to manually type and pull out that information to enter it in there.